Hello, guys. I am Shane Davis, 20-year comic book veteran. I'm here with Yanzi, and we are going to talk about something that's not comic book related, but is pop culture related, and that is that Jimmy Kimmel is being pulled off the air. And this is kind of crazy. He's being pulled off the air because of comments he had about Charlie Kirk's assassination or the aftermath of it. Now, we're going to go through this, but before we do, guys, look down below, hit like, subscribe, ring the bell for notification. Now, everybody knows the events that happened with Charlie Kirk, and the real aftermath of this is just unfolding. You know, there's the actual facts, they call it the shooter, all of that stuff. You know, they're digging into that. But on top of that, President Trump has said that he's going to call Antifa a terrorist group now. So I don't know if there's more information that hasn't came out yet, why this is being initiated now. But a lot of companies are trying to get on the right side of this really quick. Now, we had covered the Red Hood comic that got like basically pulled from comic shops and refunded and canceled the entire series, and actually pulled a free comic book that was supposed to go out for Batman Day because it had a preview of this comic in there. Now that comic is already selling for like $40 on eBay because basically DC Comics disavowed it. Why? Because a creator was again making fun of Charlie Kirk moments after he died on Blue Sky. Now, Warner Brothers, not DC Comics, but actual Warner Brothers stepped in and made the call to pull the whole series, to fire the writer of that book, Gretchen. But at the same time, they asked Gretchen to issue an apology. Now, you're going to see some of this also echo here with Jimmy Kimmel. But Jimmy Kimmel made a couple of comments after Charlie Kirk's death. Now, people are arguing whether this is free speech or not. We're going to get into that. But one of the comments he has is the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. This is Kimmel. He said this on Monday. This is Wednesday night that we're recording this. So there's a little over probably 24 hours that ABC made this decision off of that comment. Now, what's your thoughts on that comment, Yanzi?
First of all, it is definitely not as egregious as some of the comments we've been seeing some of the alt left make, celebrating and saying, oh, jolly good show there that it happened to someone. It could have happened to a nicer person kind of thing. He's basically trying to be like, trying to blame this whole thing on MAGA and say MAGA is trying to make things worse and worse. So that's the thing, you see. People are trying to say that, well, it would just be a murder if MAGA didn't try to fly the flag and bring more spotlight to it. And it's like, no, actually, this really is an issue of you guys didn't like this man's opinion, so you decide to get rid of him. And that's what it boils down to. So this whole free speech thing is going to be quite a debate in the coming days.
Yeah. And again, Charlie Kirk, I'm sure everybody's seen the video, but was answering a question when he was shot. So the other comment he made that is in reference to Charlie Kirk, and this is one that I actually think is probably the most damning one, is this is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he calls a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, said Kimmel, who has often mocked Trump in his monologues. Now, this is about him criticizing flags being flown at half-mast to honor Kirk and mocking the president's reaction to the shooting. And I'm not sure we've had a full reaction from Trump yet over this, meaning like a lot of things, a lot of information's being pulled together, an investigation on the background of the shooter and how far this goes. Again, this is all developing. Tonight, Trump issued a tweet talking about Antifa being a radical terrorist group now. I wouldn't say just, Trump stopped at flying flags at half-mast. Now, a lot of people are arguing the freedom of speech, right? And I'm a very pro freedom of speech person. The problem with freedom of speech is a lot of people, you have the freedom to say whatever you want. Nobody's saying you can't say that. But freedom of speech is not freedom of consequence. I don't know if these comments were necessary from Kimmel. A lot of people on the left still don't understand that there's half the country, more than half the country, that they're disagreeing with. especially the ones in entertainment. I see this all the time in the American comic book industry. The American comic book industry just acts like it's okay that they're just owned by these parent companies that will foot the bill. They don't care if comic shops can sell their product, and they're okay pissing off over half the customer base. Other entertainment fields, so I'm not so sure they're willing to double, triple down on this stuff. And especially when this is a political assassination and they have a huge platform. The problem with that and making light of a political assassination is it's making light of it or criticizing the reaction to a political assassination could be really close to endorsing future political assassinations. And this is where I'm seeing, I feel, because I've been involved with Warner Brothers, Legendary Studios. I've been around a lot of corporate people, DC Comics, all of that. And I understand the corporate, like, we don't want to touch that. That could blow back, that could swing back on us later. Look, I understand creative people and talent. And I'm sure when his cameras are live or they're recording, they're recording. The studio then has to deal with the aftermath of what he says. And right now, Yanzi's saying they're asking a list of demands from Kimmel to be put back on the air.
So Sinclair, which is the nation's largest ABC affiliate group, which by the way is what is hosting Kimmel's show, they have two main demands basically from Jimmy Kimmel. And there's number one, to issue a public apology for his comments about Charlie Kirk. And number two is to make a donation to Charlie Kirk's family and Turning Point USA, which is the show that Charlie Kirk was hosting. So I guess in a way, this is kind of when the corporate shareholders, stakeholders, what do we call them, they want to start saying, okay, guys, time to cool it a bit on some of this rhetoric because maybe our advertisers are not so happy with it.
Yeah, there's that, but there's also a lot of fingers are being pointed back at mainstream media, calling Republicans labels like white supremacist, Yazis. All of these words are being thrown and pointed in labels, and a lot of people are starting to say these type of labels means that, obviously they're the supervillain of the world, and therefore, any violence that happens to them, is a positive thing. And I don't disagree that these labels probably had a lot to do with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But I would also say that these type of labels led up to attempted assassination of Donald Trump. So, I mean, guys, in less than a year, we have two assassination attempts. It's like, and one successful, well, multiple, because there was another assassination attempt on Trump. I mean, there's something in mainstream media, whether it's social media or it's the Hollywood, the guys with the big platforms. There's something going on that needs to be corrected. The left is getting, I hate to say this, I mean, we try to stay a little bit out of politics, even though we're considered the bad guys and everything. The left itself is starting to distance itself from the radical left. Now, people that are profiting from the radical left, that they get the retweets and they get the likes on the social medias, and especially if they're white heterosexuals in left entertainment, they double, triple, quadruple down on these small demographics because they're very close to being canceled. Why? Because he's a man, he's white, he's in power, and so he has to be trending with the community and whatever groups that hate Trump. Therefore, he's allowed to exist and make his money and so on and so forth. It's a kind of a vicious cycle of cancel culture and SJWs and everything like that. And a lot of these people are going to accuse like this is cancel culture. This isn't. He's being pulled off the air. He's given a list of demands. And once he does those, he's allowed back on the air. This isn't cancel culture. And that's the difference between, I think, the right and the left, is they gave him a road to redemption here, a way that he can get back on air, which is radically different from everybody. If you guys watch my show for comics, Warren Ellis, all these people, Ethan Van Sciver, whoever's been canceled, you just name somebody in comics. Nobody has a path to redemption. Nobody has like, you're in timeout for X amount of years and then you get back in. None of that. Cancel culture from the left, I mean, you're obliterated. You don't do this anymore. Now, the studio obviously makes money, off of Kimmel. He's a big figure in late night TV, one of the biggest, actually. And what he chooses to do If he meets these demands, or if he just says, F it, I'm out and I'm going to go do my own YouTube or something, or my own podcast or whatever, and become a streamer. I mean, he could do that and probably just be okay. He's probably made more than enough money already. It's going to be interesting to see what his decision is, because I could see it going both ways, but I don't really have an opinion on Kimmel himself. I've never really watched him. I've really never tuned in. I don't find him particularly funny. But this could be like he's either a phony and he'll say whatever it takes to get paid, or he stands behind his words and principles and he's no longer on air. What's your thoughts, Yanzi?
Well, whatever Kimmel does, I think is apparently a state of what people consider a consequence culture, which I think people nowadays want to really frame as a free speech issue. So with the censoring, they claim it the censoring of Jimmy Kimmel, they say that he's being censored, he's not allowed to have free speech. And I want to ask you guys to take this back a couple of steps and say, well, if you think it's okay to cheer about the death of someone for their opinions, shouldn't he also be afforded the same free speech that you're afforded? And that is to say what's on his mind as well, whatever he wants to say. Because you can't just say, oh, I have free speech, but he doesn't have free speech. It doesn't work that way. Free speech is for everyone.
And nobody's saying that he can't say this. They're just saying they can't air him anymore if he's kind of making light of a political assassination. And again, this is where I land on it. If you look at ABC's perspective, and I think you're going to see a lot of corporations start doing this, is if they don't take action against anybody that they're paying and they're putting out there, putting their face out there, or any work of theirs out there, and they're pro Charlie Kirk's death or making light of it, they could potentially be propping up somebody to endorse future shootings, future political assassinations. The weird thing with the Charlie Kirk thing is I don't think people really in their head caught it as a political assassination. And that's the whole problematic part of everybody making light of it. Now, whether it's political or not, it's effed up. Okay, I disagree with anybody making light of it. I'm trying to see through the lens of the leftists on this just to understand your enemy's perspective. But to them, a lot of them are perplexed by the getting fired. And this is anything from teachers to all the way to people working for AAA. A lot of people have been losing their jobs making light of it. And again, I would say Jimmy Kimmel's not above that. If a lot of people are losing their jobs because they went to social media or they went out there and made cracking jokes in front of the audience of any making, whether it's TV, social media, TikTok, whatever, and your employer just doesn't want to hire you anymore, I mean, that is consequence culture. It's not cancel culture. That's consequence culture. If you guys will, hit like, subscribe, ring the bell for notification. Also, if you guys don't know, we do make our own books, so please go over here, support us, mom and pop shop. We have books in our shop, 9livescomics.com, Inglorious Rex. If you love kaiju boxing, you'll absolutely love Inglorious Rex. But right now, we're selling pre-orders for our prequel series to Inglorious Rex. And once we hit $140,000, every book backer will get a free mini comic with their book. So you buy one book, you end up with a free mini book for free if we can hit $140,000. And we're looking to take this down the middle of October. So guys, get over there, reserve your copy today, and I'll leave you guys with a trailer for Annatomic. Welcome to the arena.
If fighting was a god, I would worship him. I would bow to him. I would pray for victory. For he only grants opportunities. But behind every god lurks a devil. And the devil wants me to take a dive. My name is Annatomic. And this is how my legend was made.